Let's get it. So I just recently did a spot for this hangboard made by Frictitious Climbing. Their easy hangboard. Oh, their easy board. Easy board, says it right there. Anyways, they sent it to me about a week ago, and I just started messing around with it and trying to get a feel for it and understand it. Just knowing the specs and knowing the product as a whole was a big thing for me to just know how I should make the video for it. So, as always, first I found my song. I went to Music Bed and I found myself a good instrumental that I felt like had good enough movement and something I could kind of manipulate to find the parts of the song that I wanted to kind of have a build, a sustained amount of action, and then an ending, you know, to keep the video moving along. It took me quite a few different shoots to get this to all come together, just because I had to start out with a lot of basic ideas, and then I really started to develop into more of the style that this video was heading towards. I just took the hangboard and I put it on a flat white surface I have up in my the room where I do all my climbing. It's just this flat little counter up there, and I just started taking some shots right there, trying to mess around, showing off how to feature it, when I finally figured out how to get some good lighting going. So I'm going to be talking a lot about the lighting setups that I had in this, and sorry, it's just been a really exciting day. Just so fun. I'm just so excited right now. Okay. Anyways, from there, I just kind of started to pick and choose each part of the video that I was going to start making. And for the most part, since I was shooting most of this at home, I could take a shot, throw it in the computer and edit it, redo the shot if I didn't like it a little bit, and then go on to the next one, except for the one part where I went outside and I just had to get a bunch of footage there. So let's start watching it and I'll break it down. Okay. Let's just talk about those first 4 shots, because there were so many other shots that I had in there at first. I knew I just wanted 4 different shots just kind of leading up to this first hit where I showed off the specs. And the main thing about that was just getting cool lighting and cool shots with it, because I had a bunch of other ones, but the more I did different shots, the more I found better ones I liked. So the more content I had to work with, the better stuff I could pull. If I had just taken the first 4 shots, which were, you know, like, okay, then it would have just been, you know, okay, nothing fancy. So all those first shots, I just filmed at 60 frames per second, slowed them down 40% to get that nice, smooth shots going. I added in-post stabilization on all of them. They were already pretty smooth, but just that little bit more that you get with the warp stabilizers just really pulled them together. Some of the shots didn't work with the warp stabilizer, so I had to go redo them, or just find different parts of the clip that just worked better with it. So you can't always rely on warp stabilizer. Just try and keep your hands as smooth as possible, and usually warp stabilizer will just get that little bit more for you in the end that you need. Also, I'm just really stoked about the color grading on this. Maybe I should sell LUTs or something like that, but I made this one all myself. I didn't have to use any LUT for it, and I was just really stoked. Let me just talk about that lighting setup that I had there for a second, because I was obsessed with it when I figured it out. I was just up on that counter again, trying to get some shots, and I just had my light, and I'm like, what do I want to do? I was having my little sister and her little dude friend hold the board for me, just like holding it like this, and I was trying to get some shots like pulling away from it like this, and just like all sorts of different things, and just, it wasn't totally working. They looked kind of nice, but like, I didn't really, no, it wasn't working. So then I grabbed my one and only little light, this guy, which has saved my beaster so many times. Thank you, Dad, for having to get this for work. Anyways, so I took it and I just like placed it up above the hangboard. I'm like, ooh, I really like that. But I was like, how am I gonna get my light to just stay like that, you know? And like still have like the open air behind it and something like that. So I got a little creative. I grabbed 2 milk cartons and a Swifter, and I taped this on top of the Swifter, and there you go. There was my lighting. So this whole idea of just like using this one light in as many creative ways as possible really set off this whole video to be what it became, basically. Because that overhead light had a very isolated and kind of moody feeling to it, so I knew I needed to keep that throughout the video at least half the time, because I knew I was going to have 2 storylines of one person outside warming up and one person inside training. So I made sure to keep those designated based on their lightings and location. So with the shot of me showing off the specs, all I did there really was I took that clip, I threw it into Adobe After Effects, I threw a 3D tracker on there, and then I just added one little label where I could show off my text, and then I just copy and pasted that 4 times and then moved them around as I wanted to. Named one 12mm, the other one 20mm, 35mm, and then assistance cord. And then all I did was I added a mask and then a keyframe to make the mask start from the bottom and then open up to show it all, and then do that on each one and just add it to the beat. A super simple like effect, but it makes it look super professional, and just the cool floating text I'm just obsessed with. I love it so much. Let's keep going. Man, I have to pause so frequently. That little flow right through there, I loved so much. I took some shots of the river when I was down there. I shot at a 1/200 shutter speed at 60 frames per second, so again, the water could be really crisp. And then I used the Luma key effect. I use the Luma key effect so much for my transitions. It's a little bad. I use it a lot, but I used it with the mask, so it looked like it like waved in and then waved out. And then the next shot in here, so this shot of it going past the hangboard was actually filmed on my phone, because the lens could get a lot closer to the rope up there than my actual camera could. So I figured, oh, why not? You know, it's just one shot with my iPhone. This can shoot at 4K. My camera can only shoot at 1080, you know? Although an iPhone's 4K and like weird lighting does not look that good. And especially if you don't have a third-party app in here to like change all your settings up. Either way, I got the job done for the most part. So then I used a mask over the hangboard to keep it in and use the Luma key to get rid of it. So it looks like you zoom past it again to a shot of the hangboard just hanging in a tree, spinning upside down again, to again another Luma key transition to me hanging onto it with that overhead light setup, which I will talk about later, to just a normal transform zoom in effect, to me reaching up and grabbing the hangboard, and let's continue from there. Okay. I gotta brag for a second about that transition. It's not a difficult transition at all to do. All it is moving your camera behind a surface that masks out the entire frame and then doing the same thing in the next shot and just combining it together. But the thing that I was really proud about with this is the shot of me walking out the door was shot on a tripod. But what I did was I took that section of the wall, made it into a separate video, and when I started walking with it, I made the wall move faster than I was originally making the other frame move. So that way it gave the illusion that I was actually moving the camera based on Z-axis displacement and movement. That's a thing. I just made it up. I don't care. But it just made it look a little bit more real than the other version, which I'll show, where I didn't move it. So, gotta use your parts. Just a simple masking transition right there with the hands clapping. I made it into 2 separate videos because the hands weren't far enough out at first. But I just split the video up into 2 different masks, and I just slowly moved them closer together as they moved together. So then the last one, they came together right there. And then I kind of kept masking a little bit just to have the chalk explode out a little bit more. All these next shots are simple. Okay, so there was that transition right there. So what I did for this transition, since I was shooting it at home, it was really easy to set up and make sure I was in the perfect location for it, because my computer was right down the stairs of where I was filming, so I could check the framing and be like, okay, where was she exactly? Where am I going to be hanging exactly? So I set up my tripod, and I did have to move it a little bit in post, but for the most part, super easy. Again, I used the Luma key effect to transition myself, but what I did different was I also barely left Aspen in the frame for the most part, so I masked her out so she was always in there until at the last clip it transitions fully to me hanging there. So then it keeps going. My dad actually filmed that one little clip. That one little clip's got a story to it. It was like 1:30 in the morning. I knew I just needed one more shot, and I was like, I can't film it myself. I want someone filming me doing a pull-up with it. So I wake up my dad, he comes out and he films me, and he did a good job. Right on, Hefs, thank you. I was kind of mad because I changed up my lighting for this, which I will dive into in a second about the lighting. I had moved it actually behind me when before it was over my head, and I don't think it looks as good, but honestly it's okay. It's a super quick shot, and I just need some movement in there. So all the shots of me with the overhead lighting were all on a tripod besides that one, and a lot of it is just about having a lot of them cut fast and having a little bit of keyframes, moving the shot along just so there's that little bit of movement to keep it going, along with a lot of movement in the video itself with me hanging on, doing pull-ups, and just chalk moving around. Alright, so let me head back to Aspen. Pretty simple shots of Aspen. I just did close-up, far away, medium, just had some foreground in front of her, just showing off things. Then going back to me, let's talk about this lighting setup, because I was so stoked about it. So, as you can see from this video, I took the light and I just went crazy with some tape, taped it up above the door. That's how I got that one shot at the very beginning, the fourth shot of it spiraling out. I just put the light overhead because I wanted this moody overhead lighting, just as how I'd done with the product originally, to kind of keep that vibe in there. Because if it was just light everywhere, the beginning of the video wouldn't be as coherent with the rest of it. Another thing I did is I wanted the background to be as dark as possible, and I didn't have, plates to cover the edges. So what I did, it's in my trash, I made little plates. So I put the light in right here so it blocked the light out a little bit more and made it a little bit darker in the background. It's just small little things that just add a little bit more. Because if it was a little too light in the background, it didn't look as moody and didn't look as good, Anyways, so then I was there, I grab it, I stood up there and I just filmed my own hand, and then I took the shot and I mirrored it so it looked like I was grabbing it with my left hand. Boom, boom. Then I set the tripod again and just did a quick little pull-up, did a couple pull-ups to see which one looked the best. Then a little speed ramp. So I filmed that 60p just so I could slow it down, just as I had with Aspen's shot of her doing the pull-up, mimicking that. By the way, I was just so stoked about this overhead lighting setup, and it was so simple too, just some tape and a simple light, Let's keep going. So then I do the same flow transitioning to me reaching up and grabbing the hangboard, but I didn't reverse because I kind of wanted this unraveling feeling to it. So instead of zooming in at the very first shot, I zoomed out in the sense of unraveling, and every shot was moving backwards this time. So it was kind of pulling you out of the video, as with the first one was pulling you in, So then it pulls out to a super wide angle shot, which I thought fit really well because, again, it was pulling out. And that shot, I threw some warp stabilization on there again. It was already pretty smooth. I filmed everything out there at AF Canyon, and I filmed it on my Nikon D750 on my Ronin S. Some of the shots I did handheld when I had to get really close and just had some precise movements. But for the most part, the Ronin smoothed out everything great. A little in-post stabilization finally just adds that little bit of butter that you need to smooth it all over, Send a few more shots. Just some slow shots by the river. Simple things. A simple mask transition. And then just me closing it up. Looking nice with my overhead lighting. I was really stoked about that. Either way, this video was super fun to make because it really challenged me to get as creative as possible, showing off, again, a pretty simple product. Just like with unloading the dishes, this is a pretty simple product. All you do from it is you hang from it and you do some pull-ups, but it is an incredibly useful product. I took down my old hangboard and I have this hanging up there. This thing is it's just too much on my wall, there's just too many different grips on there. All the crimps are too close together. I never use the pockets anyways. So this thing is great just because, like I showed in the video, you can reverse it and you have this edge to hang, this edge to hang, this jug right here. Perfect, everything you need. Not trying to brag about them too much, but either way, just a super fun video to make as always. And sound design was pretty important this one. Not terribly important. Most of it this time with the sound design was adding that environment to it. Whenever it was the shots of me in my room, I didn't really have any ambient sound because it's just at home. It sounds pretty quiet. There's no noise. But whenever it was outside, it added noises of the river flowing by or just birds chirping, little bits to kind of just take you in a little bit more, as always. So yeah, there you go. And then the color grade, again, was pretty simple. I just add a little bit of blue to the shadows, warm up the highlights a little bit more, and just individually correct each video. And yeah, I think that's about it. Super fun video to make. Alright, that's it, everybody. Yeah, got some more jobs hopefully coming up. This was a super fun video to make. Yeah, thanks for all the support. I think I just hit 100 subscribers or something like that, or I'm really, really close. Really close. Okay, see you next time. Kidding, I'm not a full-time filmmaker. I don't know what I do. What do I do to end the video? I'll just eat. Did I miss anything? Oh well.